Good day, class. We'll be looking at factorizing quadratic expressions. This is a review of what you learned in previous grades, but I'm going to spend quality time to ensure that you understand what I will be presenting. But this is a review of what you have learned before. Okay? Before I begin, on Thursday, the 24th of September, I posted an assignment. That was last Thursday. I posted an assignment, and many students were having problems with that particular assignment. The problem is the computer program that was used to create that exercise. It is not reading some of the responses correctly, and I apologize for that technical difficulty. What I'll be doing is I'm going to physically check each response and award points for each correct response. Okay? So don't worry about it. Okay? Alright, let's begin. So we are going to factorize quadratics or quadratic expressions. Alright, and a quadratic expression is simply a degree 2 expression, an expression that has a degree of 2. Yes, and the exercises that you did last week, where you had to factorize a 4-term expression, is closely related to what we will be doing today. Okay, so here we have a quadratic expression, a quadratic trinomial expression, and trinomial is talking about an expression that has 3 terms. All right, so our goal is to convert our degree 2 trinomial into a 4-term expression, and then we factorize that 4-term expression using the box method. Yes. Alright, so our first step is we are going to draw a box. We are going to draw a box and divide it into 4 boxes. That's the first step. The next step is we are going to look at our expression, and we are going to fill in 2 of the 4 boxes. Yes, I am going to fill in only 2 of the 4 boxes. Yes, the first term, let me highlight the first term. The first term goes in the first box. All right, the first term goes in the first box. All right, we have established that in previous videos. All right, our final term goes in the final box. It goes in the final box. final term goes in the final box. Alright. Now we have two empty boxes, and we have this term that remains, negative 7x, negative 7x, alright? And we have two empty boxes. Now what we are going to do is we are going to split or rewrite. We are going to rewrite this middle term as two terms. We are going to rewrite this middle term as two terms. That's what you're going to be doing. Alright? And we are going to use a special approach to do so. So when we get those two terms, we are going to include those two terms in these two boxes. Okay? Alright. Our first step that we need to take to identify the two terms, the step we are going to take, the first step we are going to take in identifying the two terms that we need to write in our two boxes is we are going to take this number that comes before x squared. We are going to take this number that comes before x squared and multiply it with this number that does not have an x. Alright, so we're going to multiply this number, negative 2, and this number that comes before x squared. Alright, and when we do so, we are going to get negative 30. We are going to get negative 30. Alright, negative 30. Okay, that's the first thing that we do. We multiply those two numbers. That's the first step. Now we got negative 30 on the previous slide. Alright, now what we are going to be doing now, we are going to ignore the sign of that number. We are going to ignore the sign of that number, and the reason for that is it is going to make what I am going to do next much easier. Alright, so the reason I am going to ignore the sign of negative 30 and just write 30 is to make what I am going to do now easier for you to understand. Alright, so what I'll be doing now is I am going to list pairs of factors or pairs of numbers that multiply to give me 30. So I'm going to write pairs of numbers that multiply to give me 30. Okay, and a pair means 2. The word pair means 2. Alright, so my first pair of factors that would multiply to give me 30 is 1 times 30. Let me repeat that. A pair, the word pair means two. And we are looking for pairs of factors or pairs of numbers that multiply to give me 30. Alright? My second pair is 2 times 15. 2 times 15 is 30. Okay? My next pair is 3 times 10. Yes, 3 times 10. My next pair is 5 times 6. 5 times 6. Okay, that's my next pair. So I have 4 pairs of factors that multiply to give me 30. Okay. Now, this is a very important question. Very important question. I would say that this is the most important part of the lesson. Yes. Remember, I said that we need to rewrite negative 7x. We need to rewrite negative 7x as two terms. Alright? Alright, so we will have to choose two numbers from this list of pairs of numbers to help us achieve that goal. Yes? So here is a statement that will help you. Alright? This one. If I manipulate a pair of numbers from this list here, if I manipulate a pair of numbers, and manipulate means change, in this case, to change the sign of, alright? In this case, to make a number negative or make numbers negative, alright? So to manipulate, in this case, we are talking about changing the sign of a number or numbers in a pair of factors. Alright? So if I manipulate a pair of numbers and add them to get negative 7, which pair would you choose? Let me repeat that. If I look at each of these pairs of factors and I manipulated a pair, I changed the sign of a number in that pair and I added the two numbers in that pair and I got negative 7. Which pair would you choose? Let's see. Alright, if I change the sign of negative 1, if I made 1 negative 1 and added these two, I would not get negative 7. That's obvious. Alright, if I made this number negative and I added that to negative to 1, if I made this number negative and add, I would not get negative 7. Alright, likewise, any one of these two numbers, if I change the sign and add, I'm not going to get negative 7. That's obvious. Alright. Down here, if I make one of these numbers negative and add, I'm not going to get negative 7. But look at this pair here. If I make 10 negative and I add 3 to it, I'm going to get negative 7. Alright? So if I take this pair and I made this number negative and I add it to 3, I am going to get negative 7. Alright? So the pair we are talking about is this one right here. Yes, 3 times 10. That's the pair that we would need to help us achieve our goal. Alright, we just found the factors of negative 30 that have a sum of negative 7. We found the factors of negative 30 that would add to give us negative 7. Alright? And that is what? Negative 10 and 3. Alright? So originally it was 3 and 10. But since we want the two numbers to add to give us negative 7, we made the 10 negative. Alright, we made the 10 negative. Alright, now we are going to write an x. We are going to write an x beside each of those two numbers. We are going to write an x along with each of those numbers. So instead of saying 3 and negative 10, we are going to say 3x and negative 10x. Let me repeat that. Instead of saying 3 and negative 10, we are going to say 3x and negative 10x. And we are going to write each of those expressions in the remaining two boxes. Negative 10x, 3x. Do you see that? Alright? So from the first slide, we had 15x squared minus 7x minus 2. And we wrote the first term in the first box, which is 15x squared, and we wrote the final term, negative 2, in the final box. And these two boxes here were empty. Alright? And we had to go through a series of steps to determine what these two numbers, these two terms should be. Yes? What these two terms should be. Alright? Let's continue. Alright? And it is saying here, the two remaining terms that we got, it didn't matter, it doesn't matter which one of these boxes you wrote them in. Alright, The most important thing to remember is the first term goes in the first box and the final term goes in the final box. Alright, let's continue. Alright, now we are going to do what we have been doing for the past two lessons that we did last week. We are going to determine what the GCF of each pair of terms is as we go around the box. So all we are doing, we are going back to what we are accustomed to. We are in familiar territory now. Yes, we are going around the box, and as you, where is my, yes, and as you go around the box, you are going to determine the GCF of a pair of expressions. So let me remind you about what I'm talking about. All right, so in this direction, the GCF of 15 and 10 is 5. Alright, and we choose the x term with the lowest exponent, which is x, right? So this term in x has an exponent of 1. So that's the reason we chose x and not x squared. Alright? In this direction, yes, in this direction, the GCF of these two terms is only 1. Alright, so you cannot write x here. X cannot go with our 1 because x is not common to these two terms. Alright, this is the only term that has x in this direction. In this direction, 3x is the only term that has an x. Alright, so we cannot have 1x here, it has to be 1 only. Alright, and the reason the GCF is 1 is the GCF of 3 and 2 is 1. The largest number you can find that can divide into 3 and negative and 2 is 1. Alright, let's go up here. In this direction here, this direction, our GCF of 15 and 3 is 3. 3 is the greatest number you can find that can divide into 15 and 3. Alright, and the GCF of x squared and x is only x. We choose the term in x with the lowest exponent. So this term in x has an exponent of 1. Yes, right. So notice now it is in this direction we are focusing on. Yes, this direction. Alright, let's move to this pair of expressions or terms this direction, the GCF in this direction is the GCF of 10 and 2 is only 2. Alright, so the greatest number that can go into 10 and 2 without leaving a remainder is 2. Alright, and notice that we don't have an x here. There is no x here, and the reason for that is x is not common to these two terms here. Alright, we want the greatest common factor, and x is not common to these two terms right here. Alright, only negative 10 has an x. Alright, so we cannot write x here. We cannot do that. Alright, and finally let's determine why 5x is positive. 5x is positive because this term is positive. 1 is positive because this term is positive. Yes. 3x is positive because this term is positive. Alright. Negative 2 is negative. Negative 2 is negative because this term is negative. Alright. And our final step is to write our answer. Alright. Alright. So when we factorize this quadratic expression, so this is the expression that we were given in the beginning. Alright. So when you factorize this quadratic trinomial or this quadratic 3-term expression, our factors are, our answer is 5x plus 1 times 3x take away 2. Alright, so this is our answer. Okay. Alright, if you don't understand what is happening, I advise you to re-watch this video, or you go back to the part of the video that you need to understand and you re-watch that segment of the video. Yes, I believe that what the details that I've given you in this presentation should help you significantly to complete the exercises that I am going to post. Alright, and the exercise I'm going to post will not give you the technical, the challenges that you were having with the previous one. The previous exercise I gave you, there was a technical difficulty that was linked to the computer program that was used to create that exercise. You won't have that issue in the next posted assignment. Alright, so please look out for that assignment. Have a good day.